Good evening, everyone. It is now 5:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting is being conducted in person and online, and all of our council members as well as our staff is in the council chambers. Members of the public can attend in person or watch this meeting online at burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or Comcast Channel 16 or 859. The public can also participate through Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information is available on our meetings and in the web page and in the council agenda packet. The next item on the agenda is announcements and presentations. We don't have any presentations, but we do have two proclamations this evening. Our council meeting schedule is regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, April 18th at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday, May 2nd at 5:30 p.m. We have a work session scheduled for Tuesday, April 11th at 5:30 p.m. And this evening, we have a special work session following the council meeting for the city manager's annual review, and that is today at 6 p.m. in Dakota B. And then we have a closed session for security, and that's on Tuesday, April 18th at 6 p.m. in Dakota B. But all other meetings of the city council are in the chambers unless it is noted, and also I let you know where it's going to be. We have two proclamations this evening. We have a proclamation for the Parkinson's Awareness Month. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic, progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States. Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and that the prevalence of this disease is expected to rise to 1.2 million people by 2030. And whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment, mood disorders, and a variety of other symptoms. And whereas research suggests that the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause of the disease is still unknown, and there is no cure or drug capable of slowing or halting the progression of the disease. Whereas the city of Burnsville is committed to raising awareness about Parkinson's and the impact it has on our loved ones, friends, colleagues, and community members. Now, therefore, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, and in honor of all that have lived with Parkinson's, do hereby proclaim April 2023 to be Parkinson's Awareness Month in the City of Burnsville, and urge all citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. Proclaim this 4th day of April 2023. The next proclamation is for Fair Housing Month. Whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted on April 11, 1968, enshrines into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. Whereas the City of Burnsville is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. Our social fabric, the economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities. And whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunities are incompatible to a common sense of decency and fairness. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Burnsville and City Council does hereby declare the month of April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Burnsville as an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promoting appropriate activities by private and public entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of the City of Burnsville, proclaimed this 4th day of April 2023. And now, the next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not an application form or on our agenda for a future date. And I know we do have one person who is here to speak before the council. Ms. Burnsville, please come forward, give us your name and address for the record.
Sure.
And your...
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Alicia Price. This is my wonderful husband, William Price. We reside at 13201 Parkwood Drive, right here in Burnsville. It is with sheer excitement and pride that I come to announce that I have been chosen as Mrs. Burnsville 2023, and I will be taking the stage in June to vie for the coveted title of Mrs. Minnesota. It has been such a pleasure to belong and reside here in our wonderful city. William and I purchased our first home in 2021, and since then, with our 3 children, we have been able to grow, make connections, and develop just a true, real sense of community. And we thank you. It's because of your servant leadership. It's because of our neighbors and beyond, and just the city as a whole, where we have always felt that we truly belong. I just have so much pride, and I look forward to representing our city that we call home. My husband has also, I think it's so wonderful that we are speaking about housing, because my husband does work for the state of Minnesota in affordable housing. And as members of the community and community members who love to be involved and engaged, we just thank you for this opportunity. And if there's ever an opportunity to participate publicly with you or to engage, with the community, please do not hesitate to call on us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs.
Yes,
Price, for
thank
coming
you.
before us this evening, Mr. Price, and introducing yourself, and congratulations for being nominated to be Mrs. Burnsville, and that you will represent us on the big stage where they will be deciding on who is going to be Mrs. Minnesota.
Yes.
Thank you for representing us. Thank you for choosing Burnsville to be your home. And thank you for coming in this evening and introducing yourself.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, members of the council.
Yes.
Thank you.
Make sure you absolutely wipe the floor with Mrs. Bloomington.
Okay.
That has to happen.
That has to happen? Okay.
Has to
For
happen.
you.
Annihilate.
Yes, for you, Mrs. Schultz. Yes, I will definitely. Thank you. I'll give it my best. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Mrs. Collins, anyone on Zoom who wishes to address the council?
No one, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We will then move on. The next item is additions to the final agenda, and this is only for emergency items only. City Manager Lindberg, are there any emergency items to come before the body?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
Members of the council? Okay, thank you. We're now at the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item in a consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Mrs. Collins, anyone on Zoom?
No one, Madam Mayor.
City Manager Lindberg, anything to pull from staff?
Not from staff, Mayor.
Members of the council? Councilmember Keeley.
Madam Mayor, I would like to pull 4F for public announcement reasons only.
Okay. 4F is pulled for announcement. And then may I have a motion for the balance, please?
Approved?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Thank you. Councilmember Keeley, this is the application for Booz Development Group, Inc. for Plan Unit Development Amendment to construct a new Jamba Juice, Auntie Anne's drive-thru only restaurant on the vacant lot located southeast of the intersection of County Road 42 and Newton Avenue at 2111 County Road 42 West. And we're asked to approve the PUD and amendment and adopt the findings of fact and ordinance. And this item was, had a public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting on March 27th. Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate it. I wanted to pull this because there's a few things about this particular decision by the company to put a store, a Jamba Juice, Auntie Anne's in Burnsville, that I think is worthy of being called out. We're in competition as a city to track businesses here. And sometimes we lose out to cities like Eagan, Lakeville, Apple Valley. They have commercial districts that are pretty healthy and growing communities where we're a little bit more landlocked and we don't have the room to grow necessarily. But it's worth noting that Jamba chose Burnsville, the Jamba Juice franchisee or corporate, whoever owns it. And they didn't choose Eagan or Lakeville or Apple Valley or Savage. There is a store in Bloomington, but the rest of them are further north. And so Burnsville is going to be home to a Jamba Juice, which, as I understand it from talking with my my 20-something daughters and some younger kids, it's quite the fan. It's quite a great place, and they're ultra excited that we have one coming to Burnsville. So with that, I would move to approve the application.
There's a motion?
Second.
And there's a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And a motion carries. Thank you. The next item now, we move to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda is a public hearing. This is a resolution vacating a right-of-way as dedicated on the plat of Concorde Center and drainage and utility easement as dedicated on the plat of Concorde Center that lies within Lot 1, Block 1, and as shown on the plat of Concorde Center, second edition. Presenting this evening is Mr. Logan Velocity, our Assistant City Engineer. Mr. Velocity, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Good evening. This item is a condition of agenda item 4E that was just approved. It's a pretty simple one. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Just matching up our right-of-way and then vacating a portion of a drainage and utility easement that we have on this parcel. So this red here is the location of the parcel. You can see just north of Burnsville Parkway there, just west of the Burnsville campus building. The yellow in this diagram is our existing 10-foot wide drainage and utility easement. And then also of note is that we have 70-foot wide right-of-way along this stretch of Pleasant Avenue. And that is not consistent with the portion just to the north, which is only 60 feet wide. So with this agenda item, we are proposing to vacate that 10 feet of right-of-way to match the portion to the north, as well as the 10-foot drainage and utility easement that intersects the parcel. And then there would be an additional 10-foot drainage and utility easement platted where the existing extra width right-of-way is located. And this diagram is showing the new drainage and utility easements, as well as the proposed 60-foot consistent right-of-way width.
Okay,
This is a public hearing, so staff recommends resolution vacating the right-of-way, as well as the drainage and utility easements. And with that, I will stand for questions.
questions for Mr. Blasity? Okay, it's about housekeeping, isn't it, Mr. Blasity? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay, and a motion carries. Mr. Velocity, the other public hearing is also your item, and this is a resolution vacating a portion of a drainage and utility easement as dedicated on the plat of Lot 1, Block 1, Parts America 2nd Edition. Mr. Velocity.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item is a condition of the agenda item 4F that was just approved. Very similar drainage and utility easement situation with this one. So here's the property in question, just south of County Road 42, just north of our new Fire Station 1. And you can see here in the yellow is the existing 10-foot drainage and utility easement around the parcel, as well as a natural gas easement that CenterPoint owns, and we're not proposing to alter that easement in any way. You can also see on this diagram, there's a retaining wall needed due to the pretty extreme slopes on that site, and that retaining wall would encroach on the existing 10-foot drainage and utility easement. So we are proposing to vacate the western 5 feet of that easement and allow that retaining wall to be built as proposed. We would retain the eastern 5 feet of our drainage and utility easement, as well as the existing 10-foot drainage and utility easements along County Road 42 and Newton Avenue. Again, staff recommends approval of the vacating of the easement with the condition that any utility relocations would be paid for by the applicant.
Okay,
I'll
thank you,
stand for
Mr.
questions.
Velocity. Any questions for Mr. Velocity? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and a motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Velocity.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is also a public hearing, and this is to approve on-sale intoxicating liquor and on-sale Sunday license for YBR Properties Burnsville LLC, doing business as Best Western Park Nicollet, Morgan's Farm to Table, 14201 Nicollet Avenue. Presenting is our city clerk, Mrs. Michelle Collins. Mrs. Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. We did get an application from YBR Properties Burnsville LLC, and we are told they're in the process of purchasing the Best Western Park Nicollet Inn. So they have submitted their liquor license application, and I have been told that the purchase should go through by the end of this month, and that's the intention. The Burnsville Police Department have conducted background investigations on the principals involved, and nothing was found to deny the application. The license issuance will be contingent upon the payment of the associated fees and the submission of all the Minnesota Department of Health certificate and the documentation of the sale. I stand for any questions. This is a public hearing.
Okay, any questions for Mrs. Collins? Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? I understand that Mr. Roy Arnold, who represents YBR Properties, Burnsville, is on the line. Did he want to speak?
He did indicate that he would be on the Zoom, but I do not see him on there.
Okay. So, Mr. Arnold is not on Zoom?
Nope.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the update from the Ames Center. Presenting is Mr. Brian Luther of Venue Works, Executive Director. Mr. Luther, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council, and citizens of Burnsville. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. I've got a report that I will run through, very consistent to the report that we provided last April for year-end for fiscal year 21, but also now for fiscal year 22. I want to take a minute before I start this report to acknowledge that I work with two client partner liaisons. City Council Member Keeley, as well as City Manager Lindberg, and we meet once a month and review various operational items and discuss business, as well as my team and I for financial work with CFO Rhodey and Deputy CFO Ryan on a monthly basis, and work with many other departments as well, very closely between my staff and the city organization. So as we go through this, I want to acknowledge the successes that we see are also shared with everyone within the community and within the city organization as well. Oh boy, here we go.
You want to talk about easements?
Yeah, you know, I wasn't quite prepared for that. and-
Semi-parking easements in the
Okay,
back?
thank you. I felt like I've been through this before. Yeah. There we go. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. All right, so some of our 2022 operational highlights. Really, 2022 was the year to focus on rebuilding our organization and meeting our facility user needs as the pandemic subsided. We started 2022 with the Omicron still there, but our focus was really to just, for lack of a better term, hunker down, get the work done, and stabilize our organization. And the staff, our team, have done a great job with that. We were able to fulfill the needs of our facility users, who were, quite frankly, dealing with a lot of the same issues and items we were. And so it was, I think, just a great year to get done, and I feel we did stabilize and has positioned us to continue to grow now in this post-pandemic environment. One of the key areas of importance with this too was, and I want to thank City Council for the extension on our VenueWorks management contract. That really provided the continuity that we needed, as well as the stability to carry forward within the staff hiring and to keep our team in place to make sure that we had the tools we need to continue forward in years to come. I have to also take time to thank Ames Construction for the naming rights extension that they provided at the same time. So we really, I feel in 2022, it was a lot of hard work and just hunkering down and getting things done, but also seeing some really key areas there be covered that ensures our success going forward. Programming, we got back to the return of dance competitions with no capacity restrictions at the end of the year. Saw great numbers and very pleased to be able to bring people back in the heart of the city and to support our businesses here in Burnsville. Troop America, which put on a debut performance of Church Basement Ladies 9, Church Basement Ladies Away in the Basement, did 113 performances between September and December within Ames Center, plus the shows we did in January and February. So had numerous bus groups that came through the building, luncheons, and really were back in business, and they saw great results with that. And one of the best things we saw was in Q4. We finally saw ticket sales rebound into what I would say would be a pre-pandemic level, or in some cases even better, depending on the shows. So all of that rounded out with a very strong year. And as I look at the financial performance, we exceeded budget by a lot. And I know when I was up here speaking last April, but also in conversations having with with my client partner liaisons of we will meet or exceed budget, and we felt confident with that. We definitely exceeded it. Our total revenue was down by about $71,000, just essentially just a combination of event and non-event revenue. But where we're able to continue to manage well, I believe, is within our event expenses and operating non-event expenses, and that was something to be able to manage to that lower revenue, gave us essentially a year-end, and I'm not going to use the word profit and loss, and I meant to change this before we got into this, an operational surplus. These numbers do not include capital improvements for Ames Center or through facilities funds, depreciation or any of those numbers. This is purely on our operational performance. So we will call it operational surplus or deficit going forward, just to make sure that that is an accurate representation. But we were back into the black again and had an operational surplus of $67,735, which we are very proud of, to be able to get out of the pandemic deficits that we were in operationally and back on track. And so, again, that's our goal going forward this year. And we're going to continue to operate as efficiently as possible to continue that so that the Ames Fund continues to stay healthy for years to come as things continue forward. 2023 operations overview. So far, quarter one, we'll be closing out March here soon and have a full picture of the quarter one financials, but I can say with confidence we'll be meeting or exceeding the budget again this year, based off of what I've seen so far in first quarter and with programming and estimates moving forward. So I'll be doing more of a deeper dive into the forecast as we close out March, but just initial findings are very much in support of us continuing and staying on a path. So as we sit today, our areas of priority for 2023 going forward now that we've stabilized is investing into the building, capital improvement projects. You know, the Ames Center is getting close to 15 years old now. And, you know, we've had our fair share of physical plant item replacements and such, but there's other areas that we need to focus on too. So we're working with the city staff on those particular projects and being able to execute them now. Again, as last year was the stabilization year, now we're going back and focusing on that. Along with organizational development, we've got a lot of, I'm not gonna say new team members, but we have a lot of team members that are taking on additional roles and responsibilities within our organization. And so obviously the training and different areas behind that to support is gonna be a very high priority for us this year. And we've actually started a lot of those areas. And non-event revenue opportunities, partnerships, sponsorships, business, advertising, sales, getting back to where we were before. So that's really what we're looking at for our areas of priority going into, or as we are into 2023. And programming, so far dance competitions are off to a great start. We've had strong attendance. We're about the halfway point. Very pleased with what we're seeing so far. We'll have an announcement here very soon with Troop America for the 23-24 season. The framework has been established, so just keep an ear out. There will be a big announcement coming up soon, but we had a very strong finish last season, so we're looking forward to another year. And right now, I will say event bookings are very strong through 2024. It's consuming a lot of my time of programming and getting contracts confirmed, and that is going to carry forward, I know, into 2025. So I think we're in a really good position as we sit into 2023. Very proud of the work that the team and our partnership with the city of Burnsville has been for 2022 to see the results that we were able to achieve. And I will leave this slide up for our upcoming shows, just so it's coming up here, aside from our dance competitions, but for ticketed events. And I will open up for questions and answers and comments.
Well, first, thank you so much for a job well done. And as I look at all of the work that you're doing, and it's nice to see all of the families and parents back in the heart of the city, and also using our restaurants, and the Ames Center was built to be an economic development driver, and it has proven to be that over and over. And thank you. Looking forward to some of the wonderful performances that are coming. The first one is the Wild Angels that, and anybody and everybody should attend. It's also a fundraiser for the Burnsville Rotary Club. And then all of their any of the money that they make, they split it up through all of the different nonprofits here in our community. So that's a wonderful thing that they're doing, and it's great to see Twin Cities Ballet coming back and being strong with what they're doing. So thank you so much for what you and the team are doing, and thank you for the continuous partnership with all of our folks here in Burnsville.
Well, you're very welcome. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, thank you, Brian. It's great to work with you last couple of years. Brian, I think everybody knows, has been running this AIM Center for quite some time. And it was in the black operationally before the pandemic, and I don't think anyone would have expected a rebound so quickly last year, and that didn't come easy. There's a lot of long days, a lot of 6 and 7 day weeks in there by Brian and his staff to make that happen. He is a do whatever it takes type of leader, lead by example, and he has the largest spreadsheet, and I live in spreadsheets all day long. He has the largest spreadsheet I've ever seen, where he masters and manages every financial aspect of that business. So you know where every penny is. And not too many business owners can say that. Just watch some of the TV shows that interview independent business owners that own and run their own business, and they get questions on, well, how much does this cost? And they have no idea. You can ask Brian any question, and he has the answer. And his staff respect the heck out of him, love working for him, and we're certainly glad to have you. Another great year. Congratulations, and I appreciate the hard work.
Thank you, Councilmember Keeley. Appreciate that.
Any other remarks, comments? Council and Councilmember Keeley knows what I'm going to be saying. The Ames Center is like another department of our organization. And members of the council, I think that Mr. Luther can give his report to us and the community like all of the other departments in our organization. What I'm talking about is inclusivity. Mr. Luther, I believe that this last year has been one of the best years, I believe, that you have experienced in running the Ames Center because of the relationship that you have with our city manager and our staff. And you are part of this organization. You run an asset that belongs to the city. It's very specialized, and so we outsource it. But we also have an ice center, and we have a golf club, a golf course, and they all present as a team. My hope is for you to be included in that team, and that you are working together with the team. You may be an entity that we hire to run it, but that's because you have the skill set and the know-how to do that. And it's better for us to hire that out rather than bringing it in. But still, you are a member of one of our operations. You are part of the operations. So, members of the council, once a year, all departments come before us and give their report. My hope is that you will see that we don't have to treat Mr. Luther and the Ames Center differently than we treat all the other departments, that he can report like all the other departments when they come before us to give their report on what they're doing, instead of having him be called out differently to report. Yes, Councilmember Keeley.
Well, it sounds like, Madam Mayor, what you're suggesting is Brian would still come and present, but he would do it along with the other department heads in a where he's not solo as a presenter.
But he's part of the group. We always say that we're inclusive, and so it follows that Mr. Luther will be presenting when the staff presents to us, because you run one of our departments. It's called the Performing Arts Department, name the Ames Center. City Manager Lindberg, any thoughts, comments?
Mayor and council, I ask for your deference to allow me to work with Brian to talk about how we might continue to best communicate with the council. I think that we've demonstrated that open communication to you and the community is important. The Ames Center is an important community asset, and it is absolutely a different operation. That's why we have Brian's expertise and our partners at VenueWorks, but we certainly can continue to talk about how we best communicate with you along those lines. As a matter of fact, we've had some of those conversations operationally over the course of the past several months. I just don't think that we're there, or I can make any sort of commitment as to what that might look like, but we certainly can integrate Brian's reporting back to you, much like we would any other department, but would ask for your deference to allow us to make those operational decisions, make sure that we get you the right information.
Include him. That's who we are. Inclusivity. Part of the team. Rah, rah, rah. Okay, council, if it's all right with you, we can direct our city manager and Mr. Luther to work together and then incorporate all of that into the reporting structure of each department.
Got
Yeah.
no problem.
Yep,
Thumbs up.
I think,
Yeah.
as long as it works with the
Yeah,
staff. Yep.
yeah. It's time to kumbaya.
We'll kind of get granular and all of that at the Ames Center like we do with the rest of the staff.
Pardon me?
We'll get a little granular with the Ames Center like we do with the rest of the staff. Financials, a whole bit.
Yeah, I think those are some of the things I think that City Manager Lindberg and, can look at all of those things.
Again, I'll repeat, Mayor and council, I think I hear the general sentiment, the direction of the council. I would just ask that you allow me to work with Brian to manage the operational aspect. My commitment to you is that we'll continue to provide great communication both to you and to the community.
Okay, all right. And thank you, Brian, Mr. Luther, for taking the time and coming in. And we appreciate everything that you do. And thank you for the great work.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank
Yeah.
you, City Council, for all your support. And we'll be talking soon again.
Yeah,
Thank you
okay.
very much.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good evening. The next item is the resolution approving the amended memorandum of agreement between the state of Minnesota and local governments and authorizing participation in the national opioid settlement. Presenting this evening is Mrs. Rohde, our Chief Financial Officer. Mrs. Rohde.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. We're here tonight. We have the resolution to approve the MOA as well as participation in the next round of opioid settlements. You've heard much of this a number of times, so I'll go quickly through these first couple of slides just to recap. We were notified of this new settlement a couple months ago. Since then, the Attorney General has proposed an amended MOA. That amended MOA allows for and applies to future settlements. The other terms of the agreement remain mostly unchanged. The deadline for submission is April 18th, and the city will need to sign on to any future settlements with that process determined by the council. As we discussed at the May 21st May 21st work session, the city would need to sign on to future settlements, and the process would be determined by the council. So what we've laid out, similar to what we did with this settlement, if the timeline allows, we'll come to you at check-ins to discuss any new settlements and timelines, then to work session for direction, and then to a council meeting for approval of any additional settlement resolutions. Tonight, the resolution that you have for consideration in front of you approves the amended MOA. It opts into the next round of settlements, so really this next round that's due April 18th, and authorizes staff to sign on to that current settlement. It also includes a commitment to the process determined by council for communication of any future settlements, as well as bringing any future resolutions to council for approval.
Okay.
With that, I stand for any questions.
Any questions from Mrs. Rohde? Councilmember Schultz.
Thank you very much for that, and I thank staff for working with us on this. Very much appreciate it. The only comment that I would like to make is that the memorandum of agreement, and the state has said that they would abide by the new updated guidelines by the CDC, and yet the state is still refusing to do so. The state did redo their guidelines. The state has also passed some moderate legislation, a moderate change to the legislation. However, in the administrative process, they are still not abiding by that, and the state of Minnesota is still placing a hard cap on what doctors can prescribe when, how much, all of that. So they are still interfering with the doctor-patient relationship. So I do hope that as the state is enjoying suing pharmaceutical companies, that they also begin to enjoy following the CDC updated guidelines.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. With that, members of the council, there's more money. They want to give us our share.
Move to approve.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Mrs. Rhodey, thank you so much. And Mr. Shepherd, thank you for all of your work, and the two of you working together and making sure you read through all of the items with the memorandum of understanding and also the guidelines. Thank you. Okay, members of the council, there are no other items coming before us this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.